Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X researcher and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Planet X, Producing Gravitational Vortices in the Earth's Atmosphere Since 1643. Now, in Article 357 entitled Planet X and Gravitational Vortices, Hurricanes, Tornadoes, and Waterspouts, I wrote about the fact that Planet X objects, the dead stars and planets that have invaded our solar system, and which, because of their depleted energy status, have extremely low gravity for their mass, and also absorb gravitational energy from solar system objects, would give rise to gravitational vortices within the Earth's atmosphere if they closely approach the surface of the Earth. And here you see what would occur on Venus if a stellar core would approach it. And if the stellar core was, that is a Planet X object, was quite far from the planet still, then this type of stationary gravitational wave in the form of a ring would arise. So it could cause an area with a wave of a certain height, and that is matter in this area would be of lesser density. And here we have the central minimum, which we always seem to have with the gravitational wave. Then as the object approaches the planet, the height of the wave increases until when the object comes very close to the planet, what develops then is a vortex, a gravitational vortex. So that's what it looks like. So it will look somewhat like a water spout looks, or like a water vortex looks like when we have a hole at the bottom of a sink. And you always have a hole in the center because that's the symmetry of the gravitational wave. There's always a hole in the center. Now this means that the gravitational vortices which occur in the Earth's atmosphere, and that is hurricanes, tornadoes, and waterspouts, are likely to arise as a result of the presence of these objects inside the Earth's atmosphere. It should not be surprising that these objects would come into the Earth's atmosphere as they go into the Sun's atmosphere, or the corona, and make vortex connections with the Sun. However, only the smallest of these objects are observed to go as close as inside the Sun's inner corona. The larger objects remain inside the outer corona, but outside of the inner corona. And here you see a tornado and some water spouts. A water spout is basically a tornado over water. And notice this pink color in the sky around the object. And this is indicative of stellar core matter, which is emitting magenta or pink colored light, is in the vicinity. So again, we see this sort of coloring associated with the tornado. And here's one of these objects in the Sun's corona. And there's the vortex that is created by the presence of these objects. And it's not surprisingly that they actually call these things that we often see on the Sun, even when we don't see the object that is creating them, solar tornadoes. So notice that the vortices which form in the Earth's atmosphere are very similar to those which form under a stellar core in the Sun's corona. These vortices are often also called solar tornadoes, again indicating that the same type of objects are responsible for these storms in the Sun's atmosphere as well as the Earth's atmosphere. Now, in the case of the tornadoes and water spouts, the object responsible for their appearance in the atmosphere would not be visible because the top of the vortex is shrouded in thick clouds. But what about hurricanes? These can usually be seen in a satellite or ISS photograph, and the eye of the storm can usually be seen without any solid object appearing above it. There is, however, evidence that the ISS footage made available to the public is simulated in a studio. And for evidence on that, you may look at Article 350 entitled "Why is Video of Earth from the ISS produced in a studio?" It is therefore likely that we are never truly seeing what the Earth looks like from space, as all available images are simulations, and therefore all images showing hurricanes from space are simulations. The blue edge on this photograph, on one such photograph, and this one here, as you can see, it looks opaque. It doesn't look real. It's as if the edge was painted on a screen, suggesting that this is indeed a simulation, not a true image. So again, the blue edge around the Earth here at the top of the image does not appear to be real. It is opaque blue, whilst the atmosphere is supposed to be transparent, so that any edge should be in a semi-transparent blue. The Earth here has also, as you can see, a thin white line or very pale blue line along its edge, and this is followed by the thicker blue, opaque blue line. Now these lines do not vary in thickness across the image. See, about the same thickness throughout. But we would expect a difference in the thickness, because we would only see the blue part of the atmosphere if there is a lot of sunlight incident on that part of the atmosphere. So the darkest side of the Earth should have a layer of atmosphere which is much thinner than the layer which is still has a lot of sunlight incident on it. So again, this seems to be a simulation. It doesn't look real at all. And I've actually seen an edge similar to this on the moon holographic projections. Now here's another one. This is actually of Hurricane Florence, as seen from space. But the blue solid opaque edge on the Earth, we can see it here in this part here, it comes from there, on the Earth suggests that, of course, it is a simulation as well. And you can see the same thing. It looks opaque and pink. It doesn't look like it's the result of a semi-transparent blue blue light emitting atmosphere at all. Now there is also evidence that Hurricane Florence was never a true hurricane, as it moved over the Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States, as it never had sustained wind speed strong enough to even be categorized as a Category 1 hurricane until it actually reached the coast of the US. In fact, NOAA used wind gust speeds in order to make the hurricane, which was not, it was actually a tropical depression, appear to be much stronger than it actually was. And you may look at Article 345 entitled Hurricane Florence, Tidal Event and Gravity Waves for more details. So how can there be a photograph of a fully developed monster hurricane or Hurricane Florence in the middle of the Atlantic when the measured sustained wind speeds make that impossible? The answer is that the photograph has to be fake or a simulation. So it could well be that in a real photograph from space, this would be more like what we would observe. We would see a dark object above the vortex of the hurricane. Now, in Article 357, Planet X and Gravitational Vortices, Hurricanes, Tornadoes, and Waterspouts, I also described a natural and an artificial mechanism which would give rise to these gravitational vortices, namely a large amount of high-energy solar particles and a high-intensity laser incident on the atmosphere. However, this mechanism relied on the gravitational energy not being shared quickly enough with the rest of the planet's particles, so that it does not quickly flow away from the target area. I believe this was the weak point in that theory, but I was not sure enough that these storms could not also be naturally produced, since they seem to have been described as occurring on Earth before 1850, the year when noctilucent clouds were first observed, which makes this the earliest date for which there is evidence that the stellar cores had arrived in the solar system and were thus affecting Earth. But now it has come to my attention, as reported by the YouTube channel In Truth by Grace in a video entitled Hurricane Rosa is an Alibi for Localized Weather Manipulation, that Hurricane Rosa, which was supposed to be in the Pacific on September 30th and October 1st, 2018, could not be detected on radar. Instead, a storm seems to have developed north of it, which appears to have been artificially created and is in no way strong enough to be called a hurricane. And this is a screenshot from the video by In Truth by Grace, where she explained that there was at this time, which was about 5 a.m. on September 30th, nothing showing on radar indicating the presence of a hurricane, since Hurricane Rosa was supposed to be south of the island of Guadeloupe, which is in Baja California, Mexico. So this was where the hurricane was supposed to be. So it was supposed to be south of this island here, but there was nothing showing on radar at all. There was nothing there. And there was, however, this storm, which seemed to have been manufactured artificially. But this was just a storm with lots of rain, but no hurricane. Now, the fact that two hurricanes have now been no more than figments of the imagination of meteorologists indicates that hurricanes cannot in fact be manufactured artificially, and therefore most likely also cannot be manufactured even naturally, i.e. through the solar particle mechanism, unless there is actually a stellar core present in the Earth's atmosphere. Now, the fact that gravitational vortices can only arise as a result of the presence of small stellar cores or Planet X objects in the Earth's atmosphere indicates that these objects were in the solar system many years before 1850, as the first tornado seems to have been observed in 1643. But since noctilucent clouds were not observed until 1850, it is likely that their numbers greatly increased around 1850, or perhaps larger members of the system arrived around that time. These greater and perhaps larger stellar cores led to increased amounts of stellar core debris dust, which managed to absorb enough energy by that time to start entering the Earth's atmosphere and thus give rise to noctilucent clouds due to the Planet X effect, which is heating and ionization in regions where low energy stellar core matter comes into contact with solar system matter. And for more details on that, you may look at Article 338 entitled The Planet X Effect, Heating and Ionization in Contact Regions. So in conclusion, the fact that deception is being used to make it appear as if hurricanes are forming and moving toward land, instead of them being artificially created, indicates that gravitational vortices in the form of hurricanes, tornadoes, and waterspouts only occur as a result of the presence of a stellar core Planet X object in the Earth's atmosphere, and that the energy sharing between neighboring particles is too fast to give rise to an isolated area of gravitation through simply increasing the gravitational energy of that region. This also shows that since the first tornado was observed in 1643, that these objects were already here in the solar system and inside the Earth's atmosphere by 1643. And those are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.